Let
No.
me do it.
It has to be me. It has to be me.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. So you probably saw the Wonder Woman teasers that dropped this morning and you're like, hey, wait a minute, how is Steve Trevor still alive? He definitely died on that plane. We're all pretty sure he definitely died on that plane. So it's kind of funny, but I'll explain what's going on. There are like a couple things that people have been speculating, but there's also a whole bunch of Aquaman stuff that dropped recently too. They showed off like a really long trailer, so I'll add all that stuff to the end of this video too. But if you're finding me for the first time, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's a bunch of big stuff that's getting ready to drop. First things first, Chris Pine. Everybody's asking about Steve Trevor. How the hell is he still alive? Like, obviously, these are all 1984 pictures, so everybody's in full 80s attire. He looks like he's in the middle of the mall. If you saw How I Met Your Mother, Let's Go to the Mall Today could be playing in the background. It's all meant to be a little bit silly and surreal at the same time. But the thing, weirdly, that nobody has been talking about that I've seen so far is that Chris Pine looks like he has not aged a day since the 1920s. Remember, the events of the Wonder Woman movie were all about World War I, not World War II. So not only does he look a little bit funny in all this 80s getup, he has not aged a day. Even Entertainment Weekly was wildly speculating on the twist that was allowing Chris Pine to be in this movie when Steve Trevor really did die in the past. So if that wasn't clear, Patty Jenkins was pretty open about his sacrifice and how important that was to the turn in the movie. If he suddenly showed up, it would completely undercut that. So coupled with that and the fact that he hasn't aged a day, I don't think that this is original Steve Trevor. Now, like Entertainment Weekly thinks that this is his descendant who just happens to look exactly like him. In order for that to even work at all, he would have to be Steve Trevor's great-great-grandson. So there's a couple other images and the working title of the movie that give you a little more information about the crazy God-level stuff that's happening in this that makes some of these twists seem a little more possible. For now, I'm just choosing to believe that this is Headspace Steve Trevor and she's just hallucinating him in present day. It's just a trick of her mind or a trick of one of the villains. Until people catch footage of Chris Pine walking around on set talking to other characters that are not Wonder Woman, interacting with them, I'm going to choose to believe that this is completely Headspace. But like I said, when you look at the other teasers and you know about the working title, then we can talk about some of the other options for how they can bring him back. So this other big image is of Diana looking at this bank of TVs. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs in here. So one, her looking in front of this big wall of TVs is a little bit like Splash, where Dale Hannah's mermaid character is learning about television for the first time. The wonders of modern technology. So obviously, this being 1984, a lot of time has passed, the world has changed a lot. They're going to have a little bit of fun with old-timey Wonder Woman just interacting with modern pop culture. She seems like she's been working at the Louvre for a long time, but I'm assuming she didn't start doing that till a little bit later. So presumably, she did use the Diana Prince persona to go around the world and have various odd jobs, but because of the way you explain the world, not really knowing what's going on with Wonder Woman in present day, it sounds like she did keep it on the DL a little bit. Like originally the idea during Justice League and Batman v Superman is that she had sort of turned her back on man. Then later after the Wonder Woman movie came out, Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot said that they sort of soft rebooted that aspect of her character. So like, no, she never turned her back on man. So just expect to get a little bit more of her day-to-day like this is what I've been doing this whole time during this movie. But so you have a little bit of Splash, but then obviously all the images on the banks of these TVs are meant to be Easter eggs too. So the one that everybody noticed immediately was Christy Brinkley from National Lampoon's Vacation, probably one of the most iconic 80s comedy films. This is 1984, so like Top Gun has not happened yet. So this fighter jet isn't Top Gun. It's just meant to be an aspect of modern warfare. Warfare, pretty important to Diana's character and her backstory. You see modern pop singers down at the bottom here. This upper image in the upper right-hand corner, that isn't Star Wars, but Star Wars has happened, so it'd be funny to see if Wonder Woman has actually been to see that in a theater. Most of you probably recognize the Dallas TV show over on the left here. And then obviously some of these other images are probably very specific things from the 80s, so if you're around and you recognize some of these, just write them below in the comments. But for the most part, this is just meant to give you an idea for what's going on, things that happened in real life during the 80s. So they are going to sort of tie this to real world pop culture. You kind of get a look for her outfit here too, although it is kind of muted. Like, she probably isn't going to be dressing too ridiculously. I don't think they're going to change her Wonder Woman costume that much either. Like, they might alter it just a little bit. But remember, it was created by Zeus, so like it's already as powerful as it's ever going to be. It's not like you're going to take something that was made by the most powerful god and make it even better. So just expect a couple of color tunes, maybe like a couple of minor highlights change a little bit. Obviously, because it's the 80s, they're going to probably make the colors pop just a little bit more, just because back during World War I, everything was covered with mud. Like, if you look at the coloring from the original Wonder Woman movie, there's a lot of like really dark blues and browns just because of the setting. Obviously, this being the 80s, you just look at this wall of TVs, it gives you an idea for the explosion of color. Here's where we get into more Cheetah, Cersei, magic stuff. So people have been wondering about Cersei being in the movie because the working title of the film is called Magic Hour. So that's a filmmaking term, but it's also like a bit of an eye wink at the magic that they might be using in the movie. So in photography, magic hour is also known as golden hour. It's this period shortly after sunrise, before sunset, during which daylight is redder and softer compared to when the sun is higher in the sky. So it gives off this really glowy golden effect. They kind of did that during the original Wonder Woman movie, where she's in the sky and it looks like everything's on fire and everything glows like it's gold. So it's a bit of a wink at that in the photography term, but also I think the fact that Cersei might wind up in the film, and we might have some very high-level magic at play, because we know that Cheetah is in the film, and she's going to be one of the main villains, but they might have a sort of misdirect with the villains like they did in the first Wonder Woman movie, where it's really Ares that's manipulating everything, but you don't really know him as the main villain for most of the movie. So the new report on Cheetah is that she's actually going to start out as Wonder Woman's ally and friend, but then seeks to usurp her. And in the comics, there's a couple different versions of the Cheetah character. The first version was actually somebody who knew Diana was her friend and saw her at a charity in Washington, D.C., and then wanted to usurp her power. So she put on a Cheetah costume and had this split personality. So the Cheetah that we see in Wonder Woman 2 might be a combination of a couple different characters, but obviously we know that they're shooting scenes in Washington, D.C. right now. Washington, D.C. being the seat of government, I'm sure they'll have a similar scene like they did during the first Wonder Woman movie, where she has to rally against a bunch of really old assholes that don't want to do the right thing. So you have a little bit of activism, you have a little bit of personal conflict, which sounds like it's going to be happening with the Cheetah character, but then you also have like very high level god magic, like very powerful mythological forces in play, which sounds like, maybe Cersei, it's still a rumor right now, they haven't confirmed that she's in the movie, but Cersei is a character that sold her soul to the dimension of hell and has been trying to get it back. She has the ability to change what people look like. She keeps herself young using special potions, so that, obviously there's a couple crazy twists with Chris Pine's Steve Trevor character. There are ways that Cersei could be responsible for him showing up during the film. But moving into Aquaman territory, you probably heard about all the Aquaman footage that they showed off at the European version of CinemaCon. So there were a bunch of theater exhibitors. They got to see footage from all the different studios. They showed off a ton of Venom footage. They showed off footage from the Captain Marvel movie because they're almost done filming that. But they also showed off like a genuinely finished Aquaman trailer. So people are like, when are you going to post that? People keep saying that it's going to be in the next couple of days. I'll believe that when I see it. But everybody's been hyping it up. People say that the executives at Warner Brothers are really happy with it. So it sounds like it's going to be really badass, but obviously when that drops, I will totally do a video for it. But just leave all your Wonder Woman 2 theories in the comments below. How is Steve Trevor back, and what's going on with magic, as in Magic Hour, during the movie? What'll happen next is I'll post new Captain Marvel Avengers that should be up in the next couple of hours. And obviously there's a lot of stuff dropping this week, so there might be a couple surprises too. But while you wait for everything, click here to learn about the Green Lantern movie that they just announced, and click here for my Incredibles 2 review. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.